news here on TV1. You're joining me, Devi Paldano. Now, before we head into your stories in more detail, let's first take a look at your headlines this evening.
Is the Sri Lanka Freedom Party following the path envisioned by SWRD Bandaranayake?
එතුමාගේ ප්‍රතිපත්ති අනුව කටයුතු කිරීම තමයි බණ්ඩාරනායක මැතිතුමාට අපි කරන ලොකුම ගෞරවය කියලායි අපි විශ්වාස කරන්නේ.
Rice producers issue warning over withholding stocks of rice if a higher price is not announced. Funds allocated to construct jogging tracks can be redirected for other projects.
මේ මන්තිරුවලට වෙන් කරපු මුදල් කරුණා කරලා පාර්ලිමේන්තු අනුමැතියක් තුල වෙනත් කාර්යභාරයකට ගන්නකෝ.
Government is safeguarding individuals responsible for the data scam. Venerable Omalpe Sobitathera addresses a letter to the President. All private properties in Colombo to be reviewed.
Now diving right into one of your headline-making stories, the 62nd death anniversary of SWRD Bandaranayake was marked at his resting place in Horogolla today.
SWRD Bandaranayake was the founder of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Former President Chandrika Bandaranayake Kumaratunga and her family paid tribute to the late founder.
පක්ෂයෙන් සංවිධානය කරන්නේ
පක්ෂයෙන් කවදාවත් සංවිධානය කරේ නැහැ ගුණ සම්ප්‍රයෝග කරේ බණ්ඩාරනායක පවුලේ. පක්ෂ බණ්ඩාරනායක නමුදු කුඩගෙන කෑවා මිසක් කිසි දෙයක් සංවිධානය කරේ නැහැ මෙතන. ඔක්කොම කරේ පැතිරීම කරන්න අපිට ඉතලක් කරලා දීලා ගියේ. ඒක කරනවා. ඉතින් පක්ෂ සභාපති ජනාධිපති වෙලා හිටියනේ අවුරුදු 5ක්. මෙතෙන් තාම එක සැරේ අවුරුදු 5යි.
Former President Maithripala Sirisena paid a floral tribute at the resting place of SWRD Bandaranayake.
බණ්ඩාරනායක මැතිතුමාගේ දර්ශනය තුල එතුමාගේ ප්‍රතිපත්ති අනුව කටයුතු කිරීම.
We believe that acting according to Bandaranayaka's policy and vision will be the best form of respect to him. Therefore, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party will continue his vision and work plan for the country's future.
ආගතේ ජනතාව වෙනුවෙන් ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ විදියට අද කටයුතු කරන්නේ. නෙමෙයි අපි දන්නවනේ දර්ශනයක් තියෙනවා ඒකටනේ අපි කර කරන්නේ. නෑ එහෙම නෙමෙයි. චන්ද්‍රිකා මෙතන ඉන්නවනේ. ඒතර එතුමියත් අපි දන්න විදිහට ඔබතුමාලා දන්න විදිහට වැරද්දක් කරලා නෑ. මේක ගොඩනගන්න අපි ඔක්කොමලා එකතු වෙලා මේක ගොඩනගමු. නෑ එහෙම නෑ මම ඔබතුමාට දැනුවත් කරන්න මම කිව්වේ. Hello.
Members of the Navalanka Freedom Party also paid floral tributes to the statue of SWRD Bandaranayake.
බණ්ඩාරනායක මහත්තයා පංචමහා බලවේගයත් එක්ක නැගිට මිනිහ. නමුත් දැන්
Bandaranayake rose with the Panchamaha Balavegaya, but the current government isn't doing that. They are running with their corrupt allies. The entire country is aware that a few people are looting funds through their businesses. The government is paying attention to them and not the people.
රජය කරන්නේ මහ ජනතාවට නෙමෙයි. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ බඩ වඩා ගන්න.
Rice millers say they will cease activities if they cannot sell the crop at reasonable rates.
The government has said Nadu rice will be purchased from farmers at 50 rupees a kilo and Samba rice at 52 rupees a kilo. But farmers say they spend more than that while moving their harvest to their storage units. They have been asking for their harvest to be brought at higher rates. As the government remained unresponsive, farmers began selling their harvest at higher rates to rice millers. Now, rice producers say they cannot sell rice at lower rates as they spend more to purchase them. They are asking for Nadu rice to be sold at 110 rupees a kilo, Samba at 130 rupees and Kiri Samba at 160 rupees.
We were expecting the Cost of Living Committee to increase rice prices last week, but they have not responded to that yet. We will have to face a bigger problem in the future. A reasonable price must be set to purchase paddy from farmers. All millers functioning in small, large and middle-scale capacities have been forced to cease operations. The government's attempt to control the price of rice artificially and also under a state of emergency is very unsuccessful. If the prices of other essential items are increasing, then rice prices must also be increased.
අනෙත් සියලුම භාණ්ඩවල මිල වැඩි වෙනවා නම් හාල්වල මිලත් වැඩි වෙන්න ඕනේ. ලංකාවේ ඇතුලේ වී තියෙද්දි සහල් ආනයනේ.
Don't import rice when there is plenty of it in Sri Lanka. 10 million kilos of paddy should be converted into rice daily in the country. There is sufficient rice for 5 months. As far as we know, the government has only 5 million kilograms of rice in their possession. This is not enough for a single day. That is why we are making this request from the government to end this crisis by allowing us to sell it at the market rate. Farmers are requesting for rice to be sold at prices similar to the last harvesting season.
අපිට පාඩු විඳින්න බෑ. අපිට සාධාරණ ලාභයක් ලබා දෙන විදියට ගැසට් නිවේදනයක් පළ කරන්න කියලා.
The acute shortage of fertilizer has given rise to many complications for farmers island-wide. Farmers in Morogoda and Radhapura engaged in a protest today, urging authorities to provide fertilizer for their maize cultivations in the Maha season.
දරුවන්ට කණ්ඩ දෙන්න නැතුව කිසිම දෙයක් කරගන්න බැරුව තමයි අපි ඉන්නේ. අපේ බඩේරුම් ගාව හැදුවොත් තමයි අපි යම්කිසි හැමදේම කරගන්නේ.
Maize cultivations in the Ampara district used to be lush fields of maturing crops, with farmers working hard day and night to cultivate their crops. But by today, the farmers have given up their cultivations. Maize farming was the lifeblood of residents in many villages in Ampara, including Damana, Madavala, Landa and Thimbirigolla. Farmers are pondering whether to commence cultivating maize this season, their only stream of revenue, without an adequate supply of fertilizer.
A suitable fertilizer must be available in the market by now. Without such a fertilizer, we dread commencing cultivations. By tomorrow, the people who ate milk rice will have to eat sand. Do not attempt to starve farmers. This is not only an attack on farmers but the entire populace. If the leaders fail to realize that and are attempting to destroy this, it does not matter whether they have 6.9 million supporting them or a 2/3 majority. We will send them to their graves very soon. As people battle problems on food and fertilizer, politicians continue to focus on other issues. The national organizer for the All Ceylon Farmers Federation expressed these views in Kurunegala today. These are the expenses allocated for State Minister D.B. Herath's ministry. It does not allocate funds for the personal use of the minister, but his coordinating secretary had written to the ministry secretary saying that the minister wanted 48 items. This letter was addressed on the 10th of February. This is the list. 6 beds have been purchased. State funds up to 2.3 million have been spent for this. 465,000 rupees has been spent for 6 mattresses. Furniture worth 146,900 has been purchased. A 40-inch TV, a 32-inch TV, an air conditioner and an automatic washing machine has also been purchased. A gas cooker has been purchased for 43,500 rupees. A blender, 2 27-piece cutlery sets, a half-door iron cupboard, a wooden rack, a study table, smart cupboard, 3 guest tables, 6 spoons, forks, cutlery, finger bowls, vacuum cleaners, a water filter, fans with remote control, 3 types of electric kettles, glass bowls and cups, a salad cup and teacups are also on this list. Basically, everything except for D.B. Herath's undergarments have been purchased using state funds. How was permission granted for this?
රාජ්‍ය මුදල් වලින් මහජන මුදල් වලින් මිලදීගෙන තියෙනවා. මේකට අදාළ අනුමැතිය දුන්නේ කොහොමද?
Tussles between humans and elephants in Sri Lanka in the relentless conflict continue to aggravate each day. This conflict has brought many sleepless nights to the farming community of the country. Last night, 4 houses in Mihintale were destroyed by wild elephants.
Residents of villages surrounding Mihintale engaged in a relentless effort last night to chase away wild elephants that had encroached on their village. But the elephants still managed to damage 4 houses. This destruction is the doing of hungry elephants in search of food.
10 to 15 houses are destroyed in one night. 8 to 10 people have been killed too. Leaders have been elected to ensure the welfare of the people and to serve them. We are told there is a lack of funds. If they cannot serve their purpose, they should resign immediately.
When I flashed the torch, an elephant was breaking down the wall. I had nothing else to do but poke it with the broom. If not, our house would have been razed to the ground. We have nowhere to live. This is the only shelter we have. You sit in your comfortable chairs. Come here and witness our plight. You are living lavishly through our wards. By the end of the night, the wild elephants left a trail of destruction behind them. Farmlands were completely destroyed and a villager too was injured. He is currently receiving treatment at the Anuradhapura hospital.
Meanwhile, the people of Polonnaruwa staged a protest today demanding a solution to the threats of wild elephants. These threats have risen after fences were removed to build a jogging track near the Parakrama Samudra.
Locals are requesting to install electric fences that were removed to construct a jogging track near the Parakrama Samudra. Wild elephants are now encroaching villages due to the hasty decisions of officials.
What can we do when wild elephants inflict damages? We don't need jogging tracks. We must protect the lives of us and our children. Jogging tracks aren't necessary.
Wild elephants are causing damages in our villages after the fence was removed. There is a risk that this may claim a person's life. Therefore, we are requesting the government to restore these fences. They want to construct the sluice gate. That is why they are not installing electric fences. They have disregarded the people's lives and sacrificed them to elephants. They are trying to construct the jogging track by any means. Terrors travel to villages that are facing the threat of wild elephant encroachments as of late due to the removal of an electric fence in order to construct a jogging track beside the Parakrama Samudra River. The threat of wild elephants has heightened in the village of Pattini Pedesa and another village in the Potgul area situated in close proximity to the Parakrama Samudra. Chief incumbent of the Mahaviharayas will not pay attention to these issues people face. Politicians do not pay attention to this matter. They obtain commission for these projects. We must do justice to the people. What is the point of being a Thero and accepting food donations from people if we do not speak up for the people? It is the helpless farming community we care for. We have been warning of the repercussions of constructing a jogging track near the Parakrama Samudra to politicians and the people for months. This is the result of State Minister Roshan Ranasinghe constructing a jogging track on the bund of the Parakrama Samudra. Now the property has been damaged. Walls and coconut plants have been destroyed. They must think twice. We urge the authorities to ensure the safety of the lives of the people by installing an electric fence. Elephants will go extinct in another 4 to 5 years. The remaining 5,000 elephants will go extinct. The future generation of our country will be able to see elephants only on pictures. It will be like watching dinosaurs in films. These development projects that are against nature and the lifestyles of our people are posing direct threats to the innocent animals of our country. The latest example for this is the construction of a jogging track on top of the Parakrama Samudra Bund. We only see a jogging track or a walking path, but these constructions will create unnecessary political and social tensions in society.
සමාජ දේශපාලන ගැටලු රාශියක් නිර්මාණය වීම පවතිනවායි කියන එක පැහැදිලිවම මතක් කරලා දෙන්නට අවශ්‍යයි.
State Minister Anuradha Jayaratne expressed the following views on the controversial jogging track project during a visit to Kittul Utuwa Vava in Trincomalee today. We aim to create 5,000 Vavas in 3 years. We will create more than 7,500 Vavas. We will carry out development projects despite any objection. I feel I can't make a personal decision on whether a jogging track is to be constructed on a Vava. There are engineers, technical officers and the Director General of the Irrigation Department. If all these officials approve the project, no one has the ethical right to change that decision.
ඒක වෙනස් කරන්න කිසි කෙනෙකුට සදාචාරාත්මක අයිතියක් තියෙනවා කියලාත් මම විශ්වාස කරන්නේ නැහැ.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa has urged the government to prioritize livelihoods over jogging tracks. He made these remarks at the 28th phase of the Vipakshiyan Husmak program.
Medical equipment worth 3.2 million rupees was donated to the Pothuwil Base Hospital under this program today.
ක්‍රමක්‍රමයෙන් බඩු මිල ඉහළ දමලා ජනතාවගේ කරපිට හිස මත අසහනීය පීඩනය පටවන්නේ නැතුව ජනතාව
Instead of burdening the people by increasing the cost of goods, they must try to empower the people by granting them relief. That is what the government needs to do. We have heard some people saying that the money has already been allocated for this project through the budget. Don't deceive the people. The money approved for this project can be used for another purpose with parliamentary approval. They can use that money to donate equipment to hospitals. They can also use this money to reduce the cost of goods. They can reduce the cost of cement, rice, milk powder and gas. Please stop obtaining commissions. Stop the jogging track project. Stop pillaging the people and allow the people to live freely.
කොමිස් මන්ත්‍රීරු ව්‍යාපෘති නතර කරන්න. පගා මන්ත්‍රීරු ව්‍යාපෘති නතර කරන්න. මේ ගසා කෑම වහා නවත්තලා රටේ ජනතාවට ජීවත් වීමේ හුස්මක් ලබා දෙන්න.
Minister Namal Rajapaksa visited the Mirijavilla Botanical Gardens in Hambantota today. A tense situation arose when he inquired into a by-road running through the Botanical Gardens. The road running through the Mirijavilla Botanical Garden is mostly used by the people of 3 nearby areas.
එහෙමයි ඉතින් මොනවද ඔක වහන්න නම් හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ. එච්චරයි තියෙන්නේ. පාර මෙතනින් වහන්නනේ හදන්නේ මේගොල්ලන්. ඒක වහන්න නම් හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ බොරුවට ඉතින්. අනිත් එක ඉතින් ඔබතුමා රාජකාරියක් කරන රාජකාරී කරන අනිත් අනවශ්‍ය දේවල් ඔබතුමාලගේ මේ පෞද්ගලික ඉඩම් වලින් යන්නේ නෙමෙයි මේවා. ඔව්. මේ අවුරුදු 100 ගණන් මේ ගිහින් පාරවල්. බොහෝ දෙනෙකුට මේ එහෙම කරන්න ලෑස්ති වෙන්න එපා.
Locals say that the road is a requirement.
අර මේකෙන් අඩි 10ක් දුන්නා නම් මොකද වෙන්නේ? එතන අඩු තියාගෙන මොකද කරන්නේ? උඩත් නැතුවද මේකවත් නැතුවද? ඒකත් කරහ ගන්න ඕන.
We're going in for a short commercial break. Stay tuned for more of the very latest.
Do your online shopping with Sambole.lk. Home delivery and pickup now available.
Sambole.lk.
Welcome back to the news. Venerable Omalpe Sobhitathero, who serves as a chief Sanganayaka in the Sri Lanka Marpur sect, has written to the president. He says the health ministry is trying to protect those involved in the data scam instead of exposing them to the country.
The letter contains 5 main points. It says, 1. The people won't see justice through investigations as the pharmaceutical mafia and the relevant authority are working together. The investigation into the loss of data from the government's cloud server must be done after removing the authority from the state ministry. 2. Lack of interest to buy widely accepted vaccines at low rates instead of buying Chinese vaccines with low demand at high rates. 3. The State Pharmaceutical Corporation is purchasing Chinese vaccines at a high cost and entering into agreements that prevent the people from knowing the actual cost. 4. Not granting permission for local companies that are capable of producing the required vaccines and medicines. 5. Issues in the administration of the health service as these dealings have taken place without following the process in the State Ministry of Pharmaceuticals and the Health Ministry. The letter states that the National Medicines Regulatory Authority must protect the people. It adds, it is a secret that those involved in the pharmaceutical mafia are involved in the production and distribution of pharmaceutical products and the State Ministry on Pharmaceuticals.
The data scam.
It is clear that the registration certificates on pharmaceuticals had gone missing, but everyone isn't accepting it. Some ministers and state ministers are saying it hasn't been erased. Some say it has been deleted, but there are copies of it. Others say only unnecessary data has been deleted. When contradictory remarks are being made, it shows that this is being underestimated. I don't see the culprits behind this massive scam being punished.
විශාල බරපතල වංචාවකට පෙළඹුණු අයට නිසි දඬුවම් දෙන බවක් පේන්නේ නැහැ.
Why has the National Medicines Regulatory Authority hidden the cost of Chinese vaccines from the people?
චීනයත් සමග
Under the agreement signed by the National Medicines Regulatory Authority and its officials with China, they don't reveal the prices of pharmaceutical products. Those are held secret. What is this secret? These details haven't been released even under the Right to Information Act. This means while local regulators are pillaging the people who have been badly affected, they are also inviting foreigners to loot the people. These are not ordinary thieves. They are rogues. They can be called some other name.
අනුගමනය කරන්න වෙලා තියෙනවා.
The data scam.
Now, in another one of your headline-making stories, Municipal Commissioner of Colombo, Attorney at Law Roshani Disanayake issued a notice to property owners today to ensure unregistered property situated within the limits of Colombo Municipal Council is registered.
In a release, the Department of Government Information said registering property would secure their ownership. Details on unregistered property can be obtained by logging on to www.colombo.mc.gov.lk. There are lands in the city of Colombo where ownership has not been confirmed. Every land in the city of Colombo must be registered at the Colombo Municipal Council. We will not pass anything without a letter of registration. You should be responsible enough to confirm your ownership via an AT form once you receive the deed to your land. Only if it is done can your children be able to use them in the future.
තමයි අනාගතයේදී තමන්ගේ ළමයින්ට වුණත් ඒ කටයුතු කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ.
කොළඹ නාගරික බල ප්‍රදේශයේ හිමිකරුවන් නොමැති දේපොළ තියෙනවා. විවිධ හේතු මත ඒවට මේ ක්‍රියාවලිය පස්සේ කරන්නේ මොකක්ද?
83 කලබල වලින් පස්සේ ගොඩක් ඉඩ.
Most lands have been abandoned following the riots in 1983. Those lands have been captured by certain people. If not, they are left vacant. Once the review is over and ownership is not confirmed, such lands will be absorbed by the municipal council.
Governor of the Central Bank, Ajit Nivard Cabral, said that import restrictions will be relaxed in the near future, paving the way for the economy to return to normalcy. The Central Bank Governor made these remarks during a virtual event yesterday organized by the International Chamber of Commerce, Sri Lanka.
Yes, imports had been curtailed in certain areas, but I'm not a great fan of that policy. So we would be relaxing that very soon so that people would be able to import some of those goods that you mentioned without any hindrance. There was a tension that caused that policy to be implemented, but I believe once you have the exports being converted and then the whole cycle being well oiled and moving forward, the need to do that will be much less. So I'm confident that once you ensure that the conditions are provided for people to go about their normal business.
The importance of increasing Sri Lanka's exports was also highlighted during the event.
Just curtailing the budget deficit is not going to get Sri Lanka out of that problem. It's the same thing with, controlling money supply and so on. So what is the basic problem? It's the basic problem that has been there for decades. And that is no serious attention is paid to export of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is a developing country. All developing countries only grow by generating continuous streams of foreign exchange. And that has been neglected. And it's my question to this government, why don't you do the same thing? Why don't you do what Vietnam is doing? Look at the turnaround in Vietnam, how fast. Have you seen a country benefit as much as Vietnam did during the pandemic? Its foreign exchange reserves exploded because they were doing so much business. I think the signal needs to be given to all business people in Sri Lanka. If you want to make money, you start exporting.
An audit has found Sri Lanka doesn't have enough laws to obtain maximum compensation for maritime disasters.
Sri Lanka has signed at least 5 major agreements to obtain compensation for maritime disasters, but a report from the National Audit Office says they may be difficult. This is because the Prevention of Marine Pollution Act does not mention the implementation of such agreements. The report says Sri Lanka is yet to obtain compensation for the pollution caused by a disaster last year. This was when the empty New Diamond fuel tanker caught fire in the seas of Sri Lanka. One agreement that has not been implemented properly is Marpur. Sri Lanka had signed it in 1997, but for 24 years there haven't been enough laws to implement it. The report says there is no institution to fully implement the agreement. The Marpur agreement allows authorities to inspect a ship and identify whether it has released harmful substances. But the audit report says methods to collect and report evidence are insufficient in the country. Authorities are responsible for protecting the sea of Sri Lanka that spans 200 nautical miles. But there is no national policy yet on preventing maritime pollution. The audit has found Sri Lanka hasn't signed 2 other agreements to obtain compensation for maritime disasters. These include disasters that occur while transporting hazardous items. The Express Pearl vessel that sunk in Sri Lankan waters this year was carrying 81 containers of dangerous goods, including 25 tons of nitric acid.
The ever-picturesque sea of Sri Lanka, an eye-catching spectacle, is a blessing to my nation. Surrounding our mother with the protection of a father.
The Sea of Sri Lanka.
On to international news. Germans went to the polls today in a national election too close to call, with the centre-left Social Democrats mounting a strong challenge to retiring Chancellor Angela Merkel's Conservatives.
The streets of Berlin are hosting the annual marathon, but the biggest race is taking place across the country. In a final push for votes, the outgoing Chancellor joined Conservative candidate Armin Laschet at a rally yesterday in his hometown of Aachen. Final opinion polls suggest an unlikely victory could be within their grasp. At stake is the leadership of Europe's most powerful economy, and more than 60 million Germans over 18 are eligible to vote. Polls opened at 8 a.m. German time today. A clear indication will come when voting comes to an end at 6 p.m. German time, which is around 9:30 p.m. in Sri Lankan time. Foreign media reports that in the run-up, more than a third of voters were still unsure who to vote for, although a record number have already posted in their votes. The outcome will determine who gets to replace Angela Merkel after almost 16 years as Chancellor.
Iceland looks set to make history by becoming the first European country to elect a female majority to parliament.
According to projections based on the final election results, 33 of 63 seats in the parliament, or 52%, have been won by women. This would mark an increase of 9 seats from the last election in 2017. According to data from the Interparliamentary Union, no other European country has breached the 50% threshold, with Sweden coming closest at 47%. Unlike some other countries, Iceland does not have legal quotas on female representation in parliament, though some parties do require a minimum number of candidates be women. The country has long been considered a leader in gender equality and was ranked the most gender equal nation in the world for the 12th year running in a World Economic Forum report released in March. It offers the same parental leave to both men and women, and its first law on equal pay for men and women dates back to 1961. It was also the first country in the world to elect a female president in 1980.
And finally, on to your sports news. Alexander Usyk shook up the heavyweight division to become a 2-weight world champion with a stunning win over Anthony Joshua for the WBA, IBF and WBO world heavyweight titles earlier today.
Tilting towards the champ.
The Ukrainian dominated much of the fight, rocking Joshua in the third round and the 7th round and won by the judges scores of 117 to 112, 116 to 112 and 115 to 113. Usyk improved to 19-0 while Joshua, 24-2, tasted defeat in London for the first time in his career in front of a home crowd of 68,000 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. In a close 10th round, Usyk continued to land bigger shots.
Usyk is busted up and bleeding. Anthony Joshua's eye is almost closed.
In the 12th round, Usyk ended the fight with a barrage of power shots that ended Joshua to the ropes on unsteady legs.
I think AJ's hurt again. AJ could be hurt.
Unanimous decision. And new heavyweight champion of the world, the fighting pride of Ukraine,
Alexander Usyk is the first Ukrainian heavyweight boxing champion since the Klitschko brothers, who dominated the division for 11 years. Joshua, the naturally bigger man who has lost the title for a second time in 2 years, is now continuing the considerable cost of another shock defeat that ends his hopes of fighting English rival Tyson Fury for all 4 heavyweight titles next year.
And with that, we wrap up primetime news here on TV1. For more news, log on to our award-winning website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst team, I'm David Paldano, along with our sign interpreter for tonight, Brian De Cruz. Take care and good night.
Vaccines reduce the chances